Did you know Elvis?
I met Elvis for 2 minutes when I played Washington in 1976. It was the only time I've met him.
What was your impression of him in those 2 minutes?
I thought he looked extremely ill, and I felt very sorry for him then. I thought, my God, I hope I don't, and I don't mean this insultingly, I hope this never happens to me.
What do you think really happened to him? Do you think he was into drugs or what? Do you believe what you read about the autopsy? The heart?
I don't think I can believe anything that I read because I don't know what is the truth. I'm not really in a position to judge what happened to him. I just think it's tragic what did happen to him because I still think that he was a tremendous talent. He had the best voice. And it's obviously surrounded by the wrong people, I would put it down to. Having seen people in other similar situations sort of go the same way, I would say it's all down to the people around you and the way they lead you and the way they pick off you and the way they suck the energy out of you and tell you you're wonderful and everything. And they just
the entourage,
take everything creative out of you, all the energy out of you, and eventually you're nothing. And it's terribly sad. But I would probably blame it on the people surrounding him.
Well, Elvis, when I saw him in Washington, bless his heart, and I'm a huge Elvis fan, it was so sad because he turned into this big man with no eyes, it's sunken in the back of his head, and it was pathetic. And in the end, there are pictures of me when I look at them and think, oh my God, you turned into Elvis. You just shut your door and you gained weight and you did this and you did that and you didn't care how you were, and it's very easy to do that.
But when you saw him, you thought you didn't want to end up like that.
I knew he would be dead within a year if he carried on like that, and he was.
Really? And he was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, a New York writer quoted you as saying just recently about ego, that you wrote Ego about a lot of people. And he quoted David Bowie and said that you thought he was a pseudo-intellect and you didn't like pseudo-intellects. And that the Rolling Stones, as much as they were good on stage, good on record, were boring on stage. I mean, did you really write Ego about those sort of people?
Absolutely.
A reflection of the 70s?
Yeah.
Why?
There's a lot of me in it as well. I'm not just saying that. Because I just thought it's true, There's so many, there's a report in the local paper today that says Elton John has simple taste. He only wants 28 gallons of caviar a day fed into his intravenously.
You said that without the Beatles, probably none of the rest of us would be here today. So you clearly have always been a Beatles fan.
Yes. Well, at the time that 60s thing happened with the Beatles, I was at school, at grammar school, and about 13, 14, everybody sort of was in a group, or there was a local group, more groups around than there are today, and I think the songs more than anything, and the fact that they were considered outrageous when they happened. God, those haircuts and jackets, they influenced me just from the songwriting point of view. Lennon, McCartney, there's no question of it. No one will ever equal the quality, the amount of songs they wrote, the quality of the songs they wrote. Forget Roger and Hammerstein, Lerner, I know people probably say, well, come on. But for the amount of songs they wrote, those two people were the finest songwriters of this century, by far.
What do you think of the current crop? What do you think of, for example, Madonna? I knew you were going to ask me. I think she's a brilliant, brilliant marketing expert. All right. I'd rather read a Barbara Carlton novel than play Madonna. No, that's not fair. There are a couple of her records that are really good. I'm not really into it. I don't like people who don't really sing on stage. I don't like the Janet Jacksons, Madonna, people that, sing mime on stage. It's not my thing, man.
What do you think of the whole business with Michael Jackson?
God. I was kind of involved when Michael came to Britain. I put him in touch with the therapist that he was seeing when he came to England. Michael came here. Michael sat in this very room, came for lunch.
How was he?
He was fragile. I know for a fact that he'd been about the amount of painkillers people had been giving him and stuff like that. And I know that he had it wasn't a case of running out the country for an excuse. He had a real problem.
And you gave him to a therapist who would help him with drugs?
Yeah, I put him in touch. And they said the wonderful thing, the press never found him the whole time over here, which I thought was great.
Here he is, Michael Jackson.
They can't find it.
Michael Jackson's in the home of Elton John and the press can't find him.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Yeah.
Did you give him advice?
I just tried to give him encouragement. He was non-compos mentis, absolutely. He was like a zombie. And that's how he arrived in this country, a zombie. And that's not, it takes a while to get over that. And he's gone right back into that mayhem situation over there. I fear for him.
You think he should have settled?
I wouldn't have settled. I wouldn't care if I had to sell my last thing in life just to clear my name. I don't know anything about Michael Jackson's case whatsoever. I don't know any of the facts. I mean, all I know is that, you know, if I'd have been innocent of those things, I would have said, I'm going for him.
I remember when we talked in 1994, you said that Michael Jackson had come and stayed with you in secret. Nobody knew.
No, he stayed at my manager's house, which was near to me, but he'd come over to have lunch and spend the day at my house when he was rehabilitating from pain pills or whatever or something.
People didn't know then that he was on drugs?
No, he was in a terrible state.
And did you help him get better?
No, because the only person that can help you get better is yourself. He was such a big star at that time. He couldn't have gone into a rehab or something like that. It would have been impossible. It was like a circus.
At that time, Michael Jackson had settled. There had been an accusation that he had molested a child and he had settled. And you said that if you were innocent, you would never have settled.
Never settle. Your pride and your honor is at stake. No, I would never settle it.
But the most poignant thing I can say about Freddie is that when he was sick and he was dying, I used to go around and see him. I was one of the few people that did, and I couldn't stay there for very long. I stayed there for about an hour at a time. So I found it was so painful, so traumatizing to watch him, and he was so brave. And he was still spending money and buying things at auction right up to the point that he died, which I thought was hilarious, and the kind of thing I probably would do. But at that Christmas, after the Christmas just shortly after he died, I got a present delivered to me in a sheet, and I collect Henry Scott Tuke paintings, and it was a message, it was a painting by Henry Scott Tuke from Freddie saying, "Dear Sharon, hope you love this, love Melina," which was, you know, I just completely broke down. And to think of me as he was so ill, and he wanted to give that to me for Christmas, and he died about a month